Oh my gosh, we're both wearing like lacy stuff. We didn't even plan that.
I know. I like it though. I'm here for the lace. Hi guys. I was excited.
I love your tan. I feel like you just went to the beach.
I did, and I didn't wear sunscreen. And I know. But I did put sunscreen on the kids, so I'm winning in some capacity, right? Motherhood.
Right. I feel like because you're Cuban, I feel like you have an edge on tanning that I don't have. Like, I don't tan, I just get heat stroke. But do you tan? Because you're very
Oh,
pale, but you do, but you look
I
like you're
do.
tanning.
I do get a little cafe con leche. My poor husband was born in Utah, so he's as white as it gets, you guys, and he is red. Poor thing.
So Veronica and I met through friends, and then it turned out that we grew up in the same place in South Florida, but we didn't know each other then. But just loved you from the second I met you. Love the way you not only know things, but your charisma and your how loving and generous you are. It's just so much fun to be around you. So welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. So the first things first, right? Why are you fascinated with marketing? And what the heck is marketing from your perspective? Because that is a word that people throw around, and I don't think that everybody knows what it is. I think sometimes people just think of it as something really like sleazy that like comes in the mail and it's all the stuff you throw away. And then other times we look at it through your lens and we go, oh, I love marketing. And I'm the kind of person that it works on because I love good branding, right? So
Yeah.
number one, why did you get into this? And
Yeah.
number two, what is it? Let's just sort of level set.
Hi, Jonah. Buying clips.
Well, I think that's a really good question to set us
Merci.
off, to be honest, because marketing is different for different people. If you're in the online space, it means everything. If you come from like corporate America, it's a very defined lane in like an organizational chart. But I always knew I was going to do business. So just really quick, my parents are entrepreneurs. They're Cuban immigrants, which is why I grew up in South Florida. I'm the first child born in the United States. So I was like glorified guinea pig for sure. And my parents coming here to a brand new country, they couldn't continue the education they had in Cuba for obvious reasons. And so they started a company out of necessity. Like, how could they start making money very quickly? Well, let's pick up a trade. So they started an air conditioning company, and that air conditioning company lasted 33 years before they retired and sold it for millions of dollars. So like the truest definition of an American dream story. And I was being the oldest, like I sat front row and witnessed everything, the good times, the bad times, everything. So I think I always knew that I had an affection for business because I watched my parents literally make something out of nothing, which is like the most inspiring thing that you could ever witness.
So beautiful.
Right? So I went to school, I went to college. I already knew my major, but then I had to find my way in business school because there's lots of different professions or expertise that you can keep going down. And I love math. I'm such a nerd. And so I'm like, oh, I'll be an accountant. Well, accounting is fake math. I hated it. Oh no. So then I thought I'd be in finance because I'm like, I still love math. But I couldn't find a finance internship. And so I found a marketing internship. And I was like, ooh, what is this? And that's when I found out. I'm like, oh, I like marketing. So marketing is like in my world, the ethical persuasion of getting people to do something that betters their life. Okay, not every marketer feels that way. There's a lot of unethical marketing people in the world, which gives it a bad name. But to me, I think it's more of a moral obligation. Like, I help people say yes to offer services, products that can make their lives better.
Yep.
And now, so that's like the broadest sense of marketing. Marketing is literally the ethical persuasion. It's the art and science of getting people to buy. Now, in bigger terms, there's a difference between prospects and customers. I want to make sure we specify this. A prospect is somebody who's never purchased from you. They haven't whipped out their credit card yet. They haven't bought anything from you. So before you guys all purchase Boldly Abundant, you were a prospect. Like, you didn't know what this was. Now, once you purchase something, now you're a customer. Your awareness is very different. You're on the other side of a paid wall. Marketing's job is before the paid wall. Like, our job is to take somebody who is listening to you, following you, subscribe to you, and become a customer for the very first time. So we take $0 into $1 for you. And so that means we're deciding the wrapping paper around your offers, the hooks, the names, the terms and use, your refund policy. Like think about all the things that go into making sure something is attractive to somebody. That's the job of the marketer. Okay. Now, one more quick definition. Marketing in an online capacity feels like it's everything. It's content, it's sales, it's marketing, it's everything. If you were in a more formal space, like a corporation or bigger, you'd have like a director of sales be separate than the director of marketing, and that would be different than the director of content. But if you're a small SMB, right, like you're a small business owner, marketing is going to feel like everything. And it's true, like you always want to be in the habit of like selling yourself. Because even if you sold your customer for the very first time, that first thing that they said yes to, you're going to want them to buy from you again and again and again. So you still want the same skill, which is to market before they buy from you, but also keep marketing to them so they keep the journey with you in helping you solve their problems and getting to their aspirational outcomes. So that's the gift and the joy of being a marketer.
Okay. Don't you guys feel like this is so juicy, and don't you just want to sit with Veronica all day long? I'm telling you, it's a great combo of like the things that you know and then who you are. And I love bringing you guys my like favorite people. So the first thing is she dropped the mic when she completely changed the paradigm around what marketing is and says there's a moral obligation to help be persuasive, to do things that will help somebody make a decision that betters their life. 100%. And we have all been marketed to in that way, thankfully, a lot, right? Like, who knows a little bit about their microbiome now? Me, right? Because thankfully, there was somebody behind some marketing that got me aware of like, food is medicine,
Yes.
right? Go get it. So that's marketing. And there's other things where there's been certain, gosh, do I love having an Apple computer? Holy smokes. I'm so glad they marketed that the right way to me, right? Because I love having Apple products. They're so wonderful, right? So let's get that. Number two, now, Veronica, let's just take this in two big pieces. Let's start where we start. And then for those that are here who are a little bit higher up, we can go maybe a little bit further and deeper. When we start, if somebody is sitting here and they're saying, I would like, maybe I've got one client or maybe I've got five, but I would love to know more about what Veronica would say about how do I make my first $50,000? How do I make my first $20,000? How do I get my first 10 great clients? What are some of the fundamentals that you would say, let's make sure these things are happening? What would those things be?
Okay, so everybody has a piece of paper, right? Everybody has a piece of paper, a pen, you got your notes out. We're going to school, marketing school, Veronica, like we're going, okay. So first and foremost, you can't sell anything if nobody knows what you have to offer. Like obvious, right? But like you actually have to tell the world that you are up for sale in some capacity, whether you are a service provider, a coach, a consultant, or you're going to offer something tangible or a program or whatever. But like we need awareness. So how do you get awareness? Well, you need somebody to see it or know about it. And in marketing world, that's called traffic. I want traffic to my establishment, whether virtually or in person, it doesn't matter. You need somebody to drive past the ship. Like, now, write this on your piece of paper. There are 4 forms of traffic. There's actually a bazillion, but I'm gonna make it really simple for you guys today, because to me, I think sometimes marketers way overdo it. Let's just keep it simple. It feels good. So 4 main sources of traffic is social media traffic. So social traffic, that's the one that a lot of us like to play with, right? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, what else, right? There's social media traffic. There is search traffic. So like when you type in like best Italian restaurant near me, well, whatever pops up is going to be a search function because Google's a search tool. Even YouTube is a search tool. Like how to do this thing in my house, like, right? So that's search traffic. The third form is called relationship traffic or relationship marketing. I'm going to disclose my bias. It's my favorite. And it's basically people telling people about you in some capacity. So Cathy's telling you guys about me right now. This is a relationship. And the fourth form of traffic is paid. You pay to be seen. So you're going to pay for an ad on Google. You're going to pay for your ads to be seen on Instagram or Facebook. If I was starting a business from scratch, or if I haven't even broke 50,000, 100,000, I'm in that first 0 to like 6 figures range, which is what a lot of us, when we're first starting out, we're aspiring to hit. Because if I can make 6 figures working for somebody else, how great would it feel if I could make 6 figures for myself? Whoa, you know? So if I was in that range between 0 and 100,000, the only form of traffic that I care about deeply, all in, is relationship traffic, relationship marketing. And I'm not going to give you my whole pedigree here, but a couple years ago, I left a very big position for a company. I was their chief of staff, and I was back out on my own. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? By the way, marketing yourself is like, it can be deeply uncomfortable, you guys, especially I think for women, more than so than our male counterparts. It's just like, like I have to really put myself out there on the street corner, or at least it feels like I'm on the street corner, you know? But you got to put yourself out there. And so the very first thing that I did, and I would actually advise you to do this right here, right now, is I pulled out my phone and I went through my phone, like my contacts, and I wrote down on a piece of paper, or you can do it inside of a project management tool like Asana, however savvy you want to get, or a spreadsheet. And I wrote down everybody who I think that I could either offer my services to, or somebody that would know somebody that I could offer my services to. Your first $50,000 to $100,000 in your business is coming from the people you already know, not anybody that you don't know. That's not a stranger off the internet streets. Let's not start with the hardest person to convince. Let's start with the easiest person to help you, which is people who already know how awesome you are. My best salesperson in my entire life is my father. That Cuban man will pimp me out like I've never seen before. I'm like, Papi, like, chill out. Like, it's amazing how your family and your friends will support you, show up for you if you just tell them that you need them to. But it's really the people that know and love you the most that believe in you more than you believe in yourself very, very early on. Because when you're first starting out, imposter syndrome is very suffocating. Like, who am I to do this? And so you actually need your people to show up for you, because you don't know without, I mean, like, think about it. You guys are with Cathy, but how many people don't even have the Cathy in their life? They don't have somebody that's telling them that they're worthy to do this, right? And so they have to manufacture that for the first time all by themselves in a vacuum. That's really, really hard. So really you want your people to come for you and to show up for you. So I go through my phone and I write everybody down. And then I go through I don't go through like my email list, scrap the email list right now. I go through my like Gmail, like my personal email. And I'm like, how many contacts do I have in my personal email? And all that I'm doing, you guys, is I'm just putting together this list of people that know me, could use me, or they know somebody who could use me because they can vouch for me and be like a walking ambassador on my behalf. If you just do that, hopefully you have a list of like what, 10, 20, 30, 40 people on this beautiful list. And then the next thing is to tell them, hey guys, I just left my job, or I want to leave my job, or wherever you are. And I'm a marketer through and through, and I can help people with their marketing. Do you know somebody who could use my strategic mind? If you just asked a question like that, you'll be amazed at the traction that starts to come up. Like, I messaged Cathy and I was like, hey, I'm in a position where like I can take on 1 to 2 private clients right now. I haven't solicited one-on-one services in months, but I feel really called to do this. I want to get like in the trenches with somebody, and I'm excited to do it again. Do you know anybody? And then she like messaged me back. She's like, I'm insulted you didn't even ask if I needed you first. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. But I didn't even think of that. I didn't think that, right? So like, that's what I mean. If you just ask them, even if they know somebody, they'll tell you, well, what about me? Why are you skipping over me? Why do I got to tell my friends? Why you don't want to work with me? So you'd be shocked at what happens when you tell people that you're up and you're available to help somebody. That's all that it is. You're just helping somebody when you're first getting started.
I love this so much because it's extremely clarifying, and I get that it is the unsexiest step.
Yep.
And therefore, what we want to do is talk about all the sexy steps. Like, Veronica, actually, I won't give away your resume because that's on you to do, but she's worked for like, some of the platforms that have like the biggest social media, accounts. And so it's like, well, just tell me how to do that. just tell me how to do that. Right. And it's like, it's interesting because I'd love to go one step deeper here and then move forward. But the one step deeper is, Veronica, in the time you've spent working with people like me,
Yep.
and also working with people on their way to where they want to be.
Yeah.
Why the heck is that so scary? Like, what is in that we could unlock right here and right now so that we can open the door to revenue and stop closing it? Because if that is true, and it was true for me, and it was true for every single friend of mine, that they all started their business with their first client, and their first client came from the people that they knew 100%, every single one of my peers. So if that's the case, why is that so scary? And how can we decide right here and right now that we will become aware of what is a thinking error that makes that scary, and we will set it down?
I think, and this is what I hear, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm working somebody at 0 or somebody working at $100 million. It does not matter, you guys. So hear me. If you can learn this lesson at 0, you're already miles ahead of the people who are still struggling to learn this, even at the upper echelons of visibility. I think as women, we are so flippin' good at giving and so terrible at receiving. So for example, I love you, Cathy.
I was just thinking, we had this conversation. You can go ahead and use that example. Go ahead.
Yes. Even with Cathy, I'm like, Cathy, for example, like I'm going to LA in May to go speak at her podcasting event. And I hope everybody's coming, by the way. It'd be so much fun to hug everybody in real life. So I'm really excited, right? And we have these incredible speakers. And I'm like, okay, like ask us, your speakers, to go tell everybody, on our email list, to tell all of our friends, like we should tell everybody what we're doing. And she's like, oh, I would never want to impose. I'm like, what? So I think women are so good at giving and serving and loving and like, come into my bosom, I'll do whatever you need. But when it's our turn to ask to receive, I think 2 things happen. 1, we don't want to impose. Like I would never want to impose on somebody. Or 2, if I'm being honest about my own vulnerability, I'm scared to be disappointed that they won't be there for me. So sometimes it's safer not to even ask. Thoughts?
It's beautiful. And, my sister's on the call, so she knows the way I'm wired, and Veronica called me out on it. But mine is like, I've always just taken on everything for everyone. And it's not even in my view to ask them, right? In fact, I mean, for instance, I'm good friends with Sherry Salata, who was the president of Harpo and the president and CEO of OWN. And at the time when we met, I very, very, very much wanted, at that time, I don't anymore, which is weird. Do you ever grow up and realize you don't want the things you thought you wanted, at all? It's weird. But at that time, I really wanted my own talk show. I never asked her, never came up, never asked her. She would ask me all kinds of things. And a friend of mine would be like, why don't you just ask her? Like, never, like, it would just never cross my mind, right? Like, I would never do it. So I get it, right? I do get that. And when it came to offering people a way I could help them, right? Not me asking somebody to go and help me, but if I'm offering someone a way that I could help them, for me, it was clear to me that they would be helped, right? When I first started. So my first thing was selling workshops. Like the very, very first thing I did was I had to pick up the phone and call people I knew and ask them if they wanted to pay me for music that I had, right? And then from after having that's a B to B business, I wound up having a B to C business, and I worked with songwriters on teaching them the business of songwriting. But this could even be the same thing. Somebody said, I don't want to do one-on-one services. It doesn't matter what it is, right? One of my very first episodes ever of Don't Keep Your Day Job, we talked about this girl, Claudia Barella, who lives, also Cuban. Funny that I just thought of her. She lives in New York City, and I had seen an article about her in the New York Times. She lived in her building, and she was really good at making flan. Now we're really on the nose with the Cuban thing, but this is what she did. And this is no joke. And you can look it up. And so she was making it, and she had the same little hiccup of like, her friends were always telling her like, this is really good, you should sell it. No, I don't charge for it. And then she got over herself and she offered it to people on her floor in New York City. And people started buying these little cups of flan. And long story short, it did well. She started making lots and lots of flan. She walked into Dean and DeLuca in New York City. They started selling it. She wound up becoming like, you know, a multi-six-figure business owner from making this like flan recipe that had been in her family for generations, because she had to get over that one little step. So it doesn't matter if it's a service or if it's a product or if it's an event or if it's anything. We got to just get it done, right? We got to just still do that step. So give us some ideas, Veronica, if we're going to like want to take with us the best tools going into that experience, what are some things we might need with us? Is it clarity on what the offer is? Is it knowing what we should start with as a price, as like a beta test? Like, what are some of the things you might encourage for when we go and do that? And is there a specific call to action that you like?
Yeah, so this is where analysis paralysis will kill a business before it even gets off the ground. So I feel like a lot of us, we tell ourselves that if we know the ins and outs of the party, then people will come. Like if I know at what time it starts, what everybody needs to wear, what everybody needs to, like if I have all the details of the party, people will come to the party. And it's like, no, if you just say like, come to my house on Friday night, people will come. So like, you don't need to have every single little thing figured out on any one of your offers, whether it's an actual physical product or it's or like an intangible product, like a virtual offer or service. You do not need to know everything. Oh my gosh, you do not need to know everything, especially when it's one-to-one relationship marketing. That's again, the beauty of relationship traffic is that it's so much more forgiving. When you use the other traffic sources that I talked about, like if you're willing to pay ad money, and if you're willing to do search marketing, you're willing to do social media marketing, you feel like you need to have it all figured out, because how else are you going to show up in those things? But when you're doing relationship marketing, it's probably the most forgiving thing that you can do, because you don't need to know all the answers. The things that you cannot not have, like you have to have, and I don't care what it is that you sell. I don't care if it's $50, $25, or $5,000, $50,000. The one thing that cannot be skipped over is conviction. People will work with you if they feel like you are unapologetically excited about what you have to say and what you have to offer. Like I cannot express that enough. People are addicted to vision and passion. If you have a vision for what you can help somebody do, you don't have to figure out how, all the how, right? Like, so if I say, I'm marketing, you could say, let me see, Natalia, Millie, Nyla, Sierra, I'm seeing all of your faces, Christina. Like if I say, hey, Christina, I don't know exactly how we're going to get your first 5 clients, but I know for a freaking fact that I can help you get the first 5 clients, because I have a tool, like a tool belt of so many different things that we can like exercise and deploy together once I figure out like your unique style and your business and what we're trying to achieve. But I know for a fact that I can help you land your first 5 clients. Would you want to work together and figure this out together? So Audrey, yes, please. So that's the thing, like you actually don't need to know every single little detail. What you have to have unequivocally is a passion for a destination that you're inviting somebody to go with you on. Like, I don't know what we're going to do at Disney World, but do you want to go to Disney World? It's going to be the greatest time we've ever had in our lives. Like, you just have to have a complete conviction for what you guys can achieve together. Where I feel like a lot of people get hung up is they feel like they need to know every single little nook and cranny of how we take the journey. And the truth is, just like a car ride, you don't know when you're going to stop to get gas. You don't know when you're going to, like, there's so many unknown variables. It's the same thing when you're working with somebody. There's so many things that we don't know that we cannot control. And so instead of hyper fixating on the things that we feel like we should be able to control, like let go of the wheel, like Carrie Underwood, like Jesus, take the wheel a little bit here. But like, just have conviction for the destination and an invitation for the two of you to figure it out. And then what you can do is you can reverse engineer the price. So pricing is a big time question that I get a lot, Because again, pricing feels deeply, deeply personal. If somebody says no to you charging $50 an hour or $1,000 an hour, it feels like they're saying no to you. And you're like it's like so affronting. It's like so hurtful. To me, pricing is not so much an like an emotional thing. It's more of an objective thing. So like, for example, if I was telling Christina, hi Christina in the white shirt and the pretty earrings, I see you. If I was telling Christina, I have a complete conviction that I can help you have the first 5 clients or the next 5 clients. I would then ask Christina, what is one client worth to you? And she's like, well, one client on average would pay me, I don't know, like $1,000 over the course of the next couple weeks if I help them heal their pelvic floor. I don't know, like whatever it is that you do, right? I'm like, okay, so one client is $1,000 for you. Well, what if I helped you get 5 clients for the price of one client? Would you pay me $1,000 to help you make $5,000? Oh, it's like the slot machine. I'll keep playing. I'll keep putting $1 or 25 cents in if I get $1 out. So I think too, it's like, what is it what they want? What's it actually worth to them? And then reverse engineer. That's a really simple, easy way, at least a beginner way to set some of your early pricing before, because once you have that base price, so $1,000 to help her get $5,000. That's where we start. And then the next client, I'm like, well, would you pay me $1,500 to get you 5,000? Would you pay me 2,000? So then all that you start to do is you start inching up your pricing until the marketplace says too much, too expensive. But you keep telling yourself that you're too expensive before anybody else gives you the opportunity to tell you that you're too expensive. So you've already capped yourself before anybody else did for you. Don't do that. That's probably my biggest tip.
So I want to keep exploring this. So
Great.
this is something that everybody is going to have to come to, right? In their own time. Hopefully that time is today. But it's about making a decision. And all of these things keep leading back to the same thing. When you said the biggest thing to take with you is conviction, it leads back to the same reason it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's the undermining thinking error of who am I to do this? That's what it is, right?
Mhm.
And so it's hard to have conviction when your brain says, who are you to do this? This isn't even that good, right? If what you need, if the gas in the car is conviction and passion, and you're still playing with, who am I to do this?
Mhm.
Then this is where the whole thing gets off the track. Now, setting that aside for a second, okay? I want to take it into different directions because I think sometimes when we're triggered, because we're triggered, it's hard to keep learning. And so let's move over here where we might not be as triggered because we're going into like the over the rainbow scenario. Okay, so let's go over the rainbow where you have a client. Tell me, because we talked about the prospect journey, we're going to come back to that, but just for a second, how do we maintain and how do we keep people now in a customer journey, right? A prospect is somebody who's never heard of you or who maybe is just now coming in from the periphery. Then you have a customer. And most businesses make money from repeat customers. I mean, literally yesterday, no joke, my kids wanted to drive 39 minutes, that's what it said on the GPS, to go to the Trader Joe's to go get their special Takis. When we got there, they were sold out. They're not getting the shipment till tomorrow. My kids then said, can we order them? We went over to the manager's desk. No, Trader Joe's doesn't have that service, but you can come back tomorrow, or we could put 6 bags on hold for you if you call in the morning. That is a repeat customer. That is how businesses survive, is because they're not trying to constantly convince someone who's never heard of them, right? What they're doing is they're keeping a sense of retention and they're keeping value for people who are already with them. Does that make sense? So let's say, Veronica, that we sell the flawn to someone or we sell the coaching package to someone and we want to move on that. We want to continue to create retention. What do we need to think about in order, from a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint, that you would oversee to make sure that people are happy and satisfied and we're selling them the next thing?
Yeah. And that's a solid question, you guys. So let me give you, there's a couple of different examples I can give you. Who loves Disney? Tell me who, raise your hand. I can see you guys. Who loves Disney? All things Disney. Come on now, like Disney. If you know your princess type, please put it in the chat. Disney is a great example of a company that probably makes way more money from an existing customer than it does a brand new customer for the very first time. Like if you really think about it, like when I grew up with my Cuban mom, who would have to take her business calls from the house, and there's 3 of us screaming. The only way that she would get us not to be screaming and super loud while she's taking like HVAC calls, I'm like, oh, your condenser's out. Like, okay, right? Was she'd put on a Disney movie. So I think a lot of us, our very first product with the Disney company was a Disney movie. Okay, well, so what happens when you watch the movie? What's the next thing that you want to experience with the Disney company? Tell me in the chat. Once you've watched the movie, what is it that you want to experience next? Disneyland. Live. A soundtrack, toys. Okay. Do you see where I'm going with this? So even if my very first experience with this company was watching the movie, the next experience that I want to have is I want higher proximity. Okay, well now, like as a little girl, I loved Belle. First of all, she was the only brunette and she could read books, so she was smart. She had poor choices and like romantic counterparts, whatever. But I loved Belle because I was brown and I had, like I loved Belle. But I had my little autograph book. So my mom bought me a little autograph book. And then I went to Disney World as a little Florida resident. And I went to the park and I wanted her to sign my autograph book. And then of course, when you're at Disney, they're going to sell you everything else. And there's merch and there's food. And then, oh, do you want to do like the Disney summer camp or the vacation club? Do you want to do like, think about all the ways that they can enhance your experience. Okay. So the reason that I bring up this example is that when somebody becomes a customer, it's because you sold them some form of transformation, some early or initial, like, hey, if you do this thing with me, I'm going to get you this result or this outcome. Well, we know that people have way more dreams and aspirations than just one thing, or they might have more than just one problem at a time. So what I don't want anybody to do is I don't want your offers or your products to be the only thing they'll ever need for the rest of their life. That's not a good idea. Your offers, your products, your services should be very intentional about what it is that I'm helping you achieve right here, right now through this thing. But I know that your journey isn't over at the end of this thing because we don't want momentum to leave us. We want to keep going to the next step and the next step. So you're either going to be providing them an additional experience, like the Disney example, or you're going to help them achieve or overcome the next problem. Because again, problems, like if you think there's problems at 6 figures a year, there's problems at 500,000 a year, there's problem at 7 figures a year, there's problems at 8 figures a year, and there's problems at 9 figures a year. They're all problems. They can all be good problems because they're the byproduct of success, but like you have different problems at different levels of your journey. And I would like to be a provider of those problems, like a solution provider for those problems. As you level up, I get to level up with you. And so do my things that I offer you next. So again, marketing is just helping somebody. What's the next best thing that I can help you do? Or what's the next best experience I can give you to make it enjoyable even more? So like meeting Belle in person would be great. And then watching her from the movie to live to then riding her ride, like it's either one or the other. You're either helping solve the next problem or you're giving them the next experience.
Beautiful. Okay, now to go into a different one of these areas. In terms of, I think there is some way in which we need to level set the traffic that comes through social media, through the online space. And yes, we talked about how much that really could, it's possible that it's a distraction right now from doing the unsexy, vulnerable thing called finding the conviction in yourself and getting your first 5 clients that you know. Meanwhile, it is where everybody spends most of their time, right? Whether we want to admit it or not, we're all spending a minimum of like 3 to 6 hours on our phone a day. And so it feels very urgent and it feels like we're slacking if we don't at least have our head around what do we need to know and what's actually not urgent right now. I think there's a lot of different conversation where people walk away thinking, in order to do any kind of marketing, I need to be growing an email list to 50,000, or in order to do any kind of marketing, I need to be running Facebook ads, or in order to do any kind of marketing, I have to post on social media 3 times a day. Like there's so much chaos and information that it's hard to have any clarity. So could you level set? Let's say we already have 5 or 10 clients, or let's say we just want to know because you're sitting here and you're so beautiful and equipped with the answers. We'd love to know, once we get to that point, tell us, my sweet friend, what does that look like to you? What's a myth and what's real, and what needs to be on the table? You know, when you go to school and they say that what makes kids really effective is executive function. What is executive function? It's sort of that drone view that's able to like help them set themselves up before they take a test. They've got their pencil, they've got their Scantron, they've got their water. That is so helpful. So it's like in our business, give us sort of that drone view. Help us set the desk of what really needs to be there. Is it essential that it's 50,000 people on an email list? Should we be doing everything we can for that? Should there be at least one opt-in? Like, what are those essentials? And help us make sense of some of what we've heard.
Okay, and it's a phenomenal question, you guys, because like, again, when you are at a certain level, like all of this matters. But when you're first getting started, it's not a matter of if it's important, it's about the right order of execution. So like order really, really matters, I think, to me when you're growing your business. So like if we just start with relationship marketing, so let's just start with your first 5 clients. The next best step, if you've ever seen Frozen 2, when Anna sings the song of like the next best step, is one of the best part. I'm like, oh, let's play that music right now. Speaking of Disney. So like if I have my first 5 clients that I personally reached out to and like secured for myself because I did the brave thing and invited people to do a journey with me and then paid and like charged them for it. The next best step is, how do I get those 5 people to tell 5 more people so I don't have to do it every single time? If the answer to that question is social media, okay. If the answer to that is putting together a 1-page PDF of what it is that I do on Canva that will take me an hour or 2, okay, great. But think about it, like there will come a point where like, instead of you always hustling for yourself, you start to empower other people to hustle for you. So what do they need? So in Cathy's example, right, I'm going to go speak at her event. And I'm like, Cathy, I want to email my list. I have lots of people on my list. I would like to email the people on my list about this event. And I would like them to be able to come to this incredible in-person event with you and some insane speakers, right? I'm like fangirling you guys and I'm like a speaker, okay? So I'm putting together my email, I'm writing this email, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have a picture with all the speakers together. So even if I say their names, that's not the same effect as like seeing this person that I've seen on social media before or that I follow or whatever. Like, oh, I really need a picture of all the speakers. So I reached out to her team. I said, hey, Ezgi, the most incredible human being in the whole wide world, you know, Ezgi, can I have a picture of all the speakers together so I can put my email? Next thing I know, there's like a whole folder of stuff. She's like, you can use all of this. I'm like, oh, now you like, look at you, little A+ player, like giving me all the things. But do you see what I'm saying? Like I asked Cathy, hey, how can I tell more people about this experience? And her team answered that call. You're going to do the same thing. Hey, I personally reached out to these people, but how can I empower these people to do the reaching out for me? Okay, so that's like just answering that question would be really significant. To answer a more tactical piece of this, because email list is super important. I'm not saying it's not important. It is important. Having a website that like conveys what you are, having social media, like it's kind of like a phone number. Like you want a phone number to the business, but in the online space, like we don't really have phone numbers anymore. You have like web assets, digital assets to show that you're in business, right? But I want to reframe something very quickly for everybody. I work with a lot of successful business owners. I have CEOs in my programs or my private clients who have made more money from an email list of 2,000 people than I have business owners who have made money from like a list of 200,000 people. So the way forward in marketing, 2024 and beyond, to infinity and beyond. Now I'm going to have like Disney references the rest of whatever time that we have together, watch me, right? To infinity and beyond for marketing purposes. It is not about quantity. It is about quality. stop fixating or obsessing. Like I remember before, like you had to have 10,000 followers on Instagram to have like the swipe up link. Remember that? You're like, I want that 10,000 so I can have the link function. Like, gone are the days of these vanity metrics of a certain number of followers or certain number of subscribers or a certain email list size. Like I'm telling you, you'd be shocked at how much people will make with a small but mighty following. And then that again goes back to the relationship quality. Do you want to be somebody who swims in the shallow end of the pool with your friends? Or are you the person that people want to be in the deep end of the pool with? Quality is everything in marketing. So when you write an email, are you inviting them to respond back to you? If you do decide to show up on social media, are you asking them to engage with you? Like you're creating a conversation and a connection with people, not just numbers of people. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Let me know if this is resonating with you guys in the chat, because I like either this is a relief and like you can sigh like relief, like, or you're still like, I don't know, I'm still overwhelmed because I want to serve you and meet you guys where you are.
No, it's totally a relief, I think. And I feel like everybody feels that. Let's go a little bit deeper because
Okay.
you're here and there's just so much that we want to digest. Let's say that we begin to talk to those very important people in the audience, right? We're not trying to reach at this point all the vanity things because we get it. We're going to focus on where we need to focus. What on earth should be the steps? You talked about how order is important. What's the steps in terms of the order of the message? Are we offering them something for free? Are we talking about the value of the transformation? Like, where should we be focusing the message? Because that can feel really overwhelming. And then when we get overwhelmed, typically we don't do anything. So what do you think about, okay, we level set, we now know we're not trying to get to some epic number just because we think that that's where we need to be putting our attention, but we're really going to focus on the 300 people or 1,300 people that are here. What are we sharing? Like, what is the message that you think, and in what order do you think it's important to share it?
Yeah, and this is a fabulous question, by the way, because I think a lot of people are like, what do I give out for free? What do I charge? This is a question I get a lot because there's different philosophies on this. I have a lot of big names that will tell their audiences like, you give everything out for free. You give your best stuff for free. And then the other people are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, no. They should pay for your best stuff. You're not giving out your cow. Like, come on now. Like, that's your high grade organic milk here. Chill out. Like, so here's where I kind of fall on this. I find that people will give you their contact information. It's like a girl at the bar, like, you know, like the girl at the bar, the hot girl at the bar that you go and talk to, right? Like, she'll give you her number if she's excited to hang out with you further. So usually people will give you their contact information, whether it's their cell phone that you can text or their email address that starts building your email list. They'll usually give you those pieces of information when it comes to like what we call carrot. So like when people are chasing a carrot, aspirational things like top 7 ways that, you know, 7-figure business owners start their morning. Like that's not solving a problem yet, you guys. That's just like aspirational. 7 of the best habits, you know, that Cathy does in her week. Like people will usually give you their contact information for free, happy, aspirational type of content. Okay, like think about it. It's like empowerment. For the most part, you guys, this took me way too long for me to realize in my own career. I forget that sometimes we are the only people in someone's life telling them that they're able and capable of doing something. A lot of people don't have the support systems at home, whether their family, their spouse, their friends, that are telling them that they're capable of achieving a dream. And so like, I will try to give away free things that are happy and uplifting and empowering for free. Where I tend to charge is in solving pain or problems. What we notice in marketing is that people are willing to take out their credit card when the pain is too acute, right? So like an example, let's say you were a chiropractor, you could give free tips and free things away for like what are 5 ways to um, you know, stretch out your body in the morning. What are 5 great ways to do this or this with your, like, these are great things that I might give you my email address for. But if I have acute neck pain, I want you to come in and we're going to talk about like a paid solution to your neck pain. So carrot marketing is positive, uplifting, and that's like free stuff. Anytime that there is pain or a stick, when you're avoiding a stick in your life, that's usually when you can charge people for that.
It's very, very helpful. I want you guys over the next like few minutes, if you have any general or specific questions that have to do with marketing, put them in the chat. And as Veronica and I are sort of finishing this sort of way that we're having the conversation, I will ask her the questions as they come in. Veronica, what do you want women to know? The women who are sitting here right now, if they are sort of holding within them talent, skills, capacity,
Yeah.
and they're not yet receiving reciprocity. They're not yet making money to do those things, and they actually would like to, right? They really would like to. That feels fulfilling, it feels exciting, it feels like the leader they want to step into, and they're not there right now. What would you like them to know from sort of a strategic level as well as sort of an inner game mindset level in order for them to be able to move past that invisible boulder?
Yeah, and this is, you guys, this is why it's so important. It's funny, working with like a very specific technician or strategist or really tactical person like myself is great. And I can teach you lots of different things, technique wise, tactical wise, like what we can do for your marketing. But even in the work that I do with some of the biggest names that you can imagine, what will always will come up is worthiness, internal demons. We call them mind gremlins, the Pam or the Karen in your own head. I think we as women are really, really, really good at disqualifying ourselves. It's probably like mastery from womb. I feel like we are really, really good at disqualifying ourselves. So it's interesting when I work with people who are just starting, there's a lot of mind gremlins on the way up about like, who am I to offer this thing? Who am I to charge these prices? Who am I to do this? Now, on the flip side, I now work with people who've like reached the mountaintop and their phobia, their fear, it can even turn into a straight out paranoia, is slipping from grace and the shame of now failing for thousands and thousands of people to see. So what I mean by that is like everybody's scared. Like I don't think we talk about fear enough, to be honest. I think every person I have ever worked with, big, small, starting out or at the up, super, upper tier levels of success, I think all of us are scared of things not working out, or scared of not knowing what to do next, or scared when our vision gets cloudy, or scared of ourselves and our own shadows, or scared of disappointing our customers or even our family members. Like there's a lot of fear that tends to like limit your abilities just to put yourself out there. So even when you work with somebody like me, I usually call upon somebody like Cathy because this is the specialty of her work. Because she knows more than just the tactics of starting a podcast and the tactics of starting a business and like how you talk to yourself, the things that you hold, the stories that you tell yourself, the beliefs that you hold will either make or break you regardless of the level that you're in. And I have noticed that. And because of that, I've done so much work on myself because I wasn't qualified to even have these conversations, which is why like now I'm a person who's in Cathy's life. But before I was just like a straight up marketing nerd. And I didn't realize how much marketing is actually just mindset. That's what I will actually say, Cathy.
I love that. In the 10 minutes that we have left, I'm reading some of your questions and I'm going to try to find the universality in some of these questions. And while I'm doing that, is anybody, let me ask it like this before everybody raises their hand. Has anybody already tried something to market something and you didn't see it work, right? Because if we're going to audit, let's say, we need something to audit. So if there's anybody here who's actually already tried, you've gone on social media or you've gone to your friends and you really put in the steps that we talked about today, and you haven't necessarily seen that, and you want Veronica to hear and to coach you, tell us in the chat or raise your hand if you would like to discuss it. I mean, it's so interesting. Everybody's scared. Siri, I remember you asked me this question on a call a few weeks back about getting more people to, and we had a spiritual conversation about it, but those are the kinds of things I'm curious about.
My phone off.
Catherine, I just saw you raise your hand. So tell us in this regard what you tried and what feels like it's not working.
Okay. I'm scanning to make sure I've done all the steps that you were talking about. So I have tried with friends. I think this is so the part that I'm like slipping on a little bit is like the boundaries with friends. Like even though you're saying like, because I'm doing coaching with them, even though you're talking about, you know, starting with your small circle. I'm curious because I had the coaching session with Kelsey, and she mentioned like, oh, actually just say, okay, that's enough. Thanks. The friends didn't work. I'm now going to try people I don't know.
Sure.
So I've been trying that, but I think, let's see, what other information do you need? Sorry.
Okay, so
I got it.
Thanks.
So what are you coaching? Just so that I know really quick, like what
Yeah, it's astrology coaching it's for any problem, because charts can
Yep.
go for any problem. Yeah.
Cool.
So you are, you help people find clarity in their lives, which a lot of people do, but you do it uniquely because you use a medium called astrology to give people the clarity they're desperate to have in their lives. I mean, that's really what it is, right? Like astrology, it is the product, but to me, it sounds like it's more like the vehicle to solving their actual problem, because like people don't have problems with astrology. Those are free. I can go to like virgo.com and like, what's my astrology today? You know? But you're helping people utilize their astrology to giving them answers that they don't currently have and that they're stressing about. So there's certain decisions in their life that are paralyzing them, whether it's in their relationship, in their careers, anything. And you're using this vehicle and you're helping them drive this vehicle and helping them get clear on their lives or in solving problems that they have. Am I not mistaken?
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. So the first thing is probably if I heard your pitch, I'm like, oh, I wonder if you're framing this correctly, right? Like sometimes I think we push the product and not push the problem that we're solving. So very careful, you guys. If you like audited your call or if you looked at like the DMs, if what you were pushing was actually astrology, I think you've already missed the mark.
Yeah, that is. Yep. Okay, cool.
Right? Astrology is not the thing that
Breakthroughs. I love it.
Right? Astrology is the means to an end, but what they want is the end. So I'm going to teach everybody this right here. So everybody get your pieces of paper out. We're going to talk about is, does, and means. And this is actually helping Catherine, but it's helping all of you. And Catherine just the brave one to say, pick me. Okay. And I love it. I love you for it. So most marketers do is and does marketing and never means. And I'll explain what that is. So let's take Tylenol. Everybody understands what Tylenol is. So what is Tylenol? Tylenol is an over-the-counter medication. We can all agree. What it does is it alleviates minor aches and pains and reduces fever. Like you can go to their website right now and it will tell you Tylenol is an over-the-counter medication. What it does is it alleviates minor aches and pains and reduces fever. That's where most people will stop their marketing right there, is and does. But what I will tell you is that people buy meaning, what it means. So for example, Tylenol is an over-the-counter medication. It does alleviate minor aches and pains and reduces fever, but what it means is that I'm in control of my health. It means that I don't have to skip out on work because I have a headache. It means I don't have to ditch my daughter's recital because my back hurts. It means I don't have to go to the hospital because I can help my child who has like 102 fever. It means I'm in control of my own health or someone that I love's health. What it means. So that's why I'm talking about astrology with you. If you're like, I'm a coach, okay? Catherine is a coach. What does she do? She helps you use astrology. Cool. You're not going to sell like that because nobody cares. They don't care about astrology the way that you care about astrology. They care about what astrology means for them. So you use astrology to help them make decisions that are otherwise keeping them up at night, that is really preventing them from taking their next best step. And you use astrology in a way that nobody else uses astrology, which makes you the unique provider that they should work with. That's how I would reframe that whole pitch.
Look at the chat, B.
Oh, sorry, I was in the
No,
zone.
I was just saying everybody loves it. And now, Catherine, what's happening for you right now as she's saying this? Are you going back and thinking about conversations you had? Are you seeing where maybe you omitted what it means? What?
Yeah, so the most recent thing I did was I like did like pretend session to show like how it can actually help you. I made up like Josephina and showed like, well, her goal is to run a marathon. And so how can we use this chart to instruct her in clarity? And now I'm thinking like, I think I just need more of that, like, because it is true, like, yeah, my mind is starting to be like, okay, how can I reframe this? I was thinking like, you know, instead of having to try a bunch of things, there's like a clear way of like, well, here's a smaller portion of things you can try to fix your, that might work for you personally. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind was going. And
Yeah,
it
I think
sounds
we have to
better.
remember that the wallet achieves what the mind believes.
Mhm.
The wallet achieves what the mind believes.
Mhm.
And so if in her mind, what she believes is that she wants to do this or is capable of doing that or has this like whatever she wants or needs, right? Remember, want or need. Whatever they want and then they need, the wallet will achieve that. And so I have an aspiration to be a world-class speaker making $250,000 a keynote. If you told me that your astrology can help me become a $250,000 keynote speaker, I'm like, I don't care what the price is, whatever. Yeah, sure. Because the wallet achieves what the mind believes. I want this. You're telling me that you have a mechanism to help me achieve that. Cool, let's talk. Now, you brought up the friend thing. I want to talk about this because sometimes pitching to our friends, they mean that it's free or goodwill. You're like, no, this isn't church.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with changing. And a friend like commissioned me, which is great, but with talking about it with my friends, it's not church.
So when this gets awkward or it comes up, it's probably because we haven't set the expectation that this is a chargeable thing, not just like a gift. So one of the things that I'll do to make sure that I set the tone is we're talking about like, yeah, I definitely want to do this. I'm like, okay, cool. So there's a couple ways that I do with friends, unlike my clients. So my clients will just pay me an hourly rate. But with friends, what I have found, we can do it one or two ways. We can either decide that you pay me flat out for this awesome thing, or because we're friends, we can discuss a trade where I'll do this for you, but then you can do something for me to help me achieve my aspiration. So like either way, I'm just setting the condition that this is a chargeable thing, that non-friends pay me without question. And because you're a friend, here are the rules to the play of the game because you're a friend, but in no circumstances is it free because you're a friend. So like you're the only one that sets that boundary. And if you don't set the boundary, they're going to make a radical assumption that's not in your favor.
What I want to just say about this also, first of all, it's brilliant. And the reason why I wanted one of you to raise your hand and thank you for raising your hands is because what is personal is often very universal. And this was like a case study that I think if everybody is listening, there's probably so much of what Veronica just said that you could apply to your question. Now, what I just want to highlight is where we started. And I think what Veronica just said is really important, how to level set with boundaries with friends. And what we also understand now is that, Catherine, perhaps you were not expressing the transformation, right? You were talking about the process versus the outcome. And when you went to like, okay, so I've tried the friends thing. Now I need to go into people I don't know. Let's remember, you at least have your friends' attention, right? When you put something out on social media or you email it to someone, let's put it this way, you don't have their attention, right? The algorithm is such that like they won't see it. So then even the people who will see it, you still won't have their attention because they're not going to click on it. But then the tiny, tiny fraction of those people will click on it, but then they don't know and trust you yet. So then they're not going to put as much weight behind what it is that you say yet. So it's like tiny little, like it's like tiny little impressions over and over and over that eventually build that, right? Or we can build it, like I like to talk about through a podcast, because that's like a boom, intimacy driver, right? It's like a long form, heart to heart conversation, which at least, even if 8 people heard it, they heard you deeply. That's why I always say, go over there. I know it's less sexy, but go over there. However, what we just need to understand is, if we can all go back and look at how are we expressing, not process, but outcome. How are we expressing, like she said, not is and does, but what that means ultimately, then it is so much more in your benefit to talk to people you already know, because at least you have their attention. They will read the text.
Yeah.
Right? Out there in the world, not even going to happen, right? They're not even going to see it, let alone read it. And then even the ones who do see it will read half of it. So you don't even have their attention. So it's a harder conversation to have because no one's listening. So you can do it, but we need to start with a base like that. Veronica, as you are signing off,
Yes.
what do you want to leave people with? What do you think is one important nugget that you hope that they got today? And then where can they find you besides at the summit, which they should all be coming to?
Yes, please.
Where can they find you, and what would you like to leave them with that you
Yeah,
hope that they heard today?
To my knowledge, there's only one Veronica Romney in the world. So if you go to veronicaromney.com or anywhere on social media as V Romney, that's me, and we can hang out and you can DM me and we can talk about today and whatever else. I'm a deep end kind of person. Like I like to swim in the deep end with few people as opposed to be someone who is in the shallow end with many. I'm just not, like, relationships are everything to me in this stage in my life. And so hopefully that today was really, really, really helpful for you and helped you unlock something that you were getting in the way of. I think if I could leave you guys with something, I think a lot of us tell ourselves that we don't, like, for example, what I hear all the time, I think this is applicable for marketing too, is like, well, I suck at sales. I hate sales. Blah, blah, blah. But that marketing is sales too. So you could say like, oh, I hate marketing, or I hate marketing myself, or oh, like, I'm not good at it. Right? I think there's an opportunity for you guys to reframe that. Because remember, to sell is to serve. To sell is to serve. Back to what the chat was going off earlier, I have given countless friends from church, from my personal life, from my neighborhood, free services. I cannot tell you how many times I have offered free consultation, free access to a program, free courses, free workshops. Because I believe in generosity. I believe in paying it forward. I believe in being a helper, not a helpee. Like, I want to give. The more that I give, the more that I am blessed. I genuinely believe that. But every time I have ever given somebody something for free, they don't show up for themselves. And so the only way that I can actually serve somebody, truly serve somebody, is by making them pay. Because when you pay attention. When you put skin in the game, you have an obligation to yourself to show up for the thing that you did. And so I was actually hurting them. I was hurting them by giving away for free. I have a moral obligation to help people help themselves. That is marketing. And by doing them, I need them to make a bet on themselves in the form of a payment. Because if I don't, they will not take the course. They will not show up for the workshop because there's no risk. I need them to feel like they have a little bit of risk, because when there's risk, there's reward. Good things don't happen easy. They come through like the refiner's fire. And so, like, I need people to believe in themselves and put a bet on themselves, even if it's $1, $5, $50, I don't care. But I've learned that. And so, like, I think a lot of us have feelings around charging people that we love money. And I want you to reframe that so badly. You have to get people to put their own skin in the game if you are serious and sincere about changing somebody's life with what you have to offer. End of story.
It's so powerful. And speaking of powerful, I just want to direct your attention because you're going to get off and I don't know if you'll see it. There are so many comments that have to do with your energy and how much people have enjoyed not just what you've shared, but your energy. And does she do one-on-one coaching, and being in her presence is so wonderful. And I just wanted you to know that I'm not alone in all the things I share with you. So thank you so much for coming. If you guys enjoyed it, take a screenshot. You can tag her, post her on Instagram, let people know that she's there in the world providing beauty and clarity for women. And I so appreciate that. And I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Thank you, V.
Bye,
To
guys.